Hello everyone, this is Highlander from MTG Cardsmith doing another custom Magic the Gathering card review. Here we have a card by TGBC GakurenZelthorn. That's quite a name. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Gakuren? I'm not sure. It seems very Asian inspired. Okay, so, well, speaking of Asian inspired, we have a card here. Excuse me. This is from a set of his. The set is called Earth, so I believe, if I'm getting this correct, that the idea of the set is that Earth is a plane. So we're making Earth a plane. That's all I know about this. Um, okay, before we start reviewing this card, let's talk art. And I'm only going to do this once. I'm only going to say this once for this particular set. Um, in general, I do not like art that does not look like Magic art. That's just me as a card designer and as a just as a human, I guess, a Magic player. Let's put it that way. Um, when I see cards without art that looks like Magic art, I tend to overlook them. Now, that being said, this entire set, I believe, I haven't actually looked at any of the cards, but I've seen a lot of cards by this gentleman, TGBCGakurenZelthorn, um, and I believe he uses anime pictures for basically all of his cards. Now, if the entire set is anime styled, it bothers me less, right? Um, somebody brought this up recently. I believe it was Cadstar, which is that I mean, Magic nowadays does like they do like other IP tie-ins and things like this, which tend to have different art. They also do alt style cards. And while that's true in general, I still kind of stick to my guns on art. I am not going to be taking points off on art for these cards, specifically because they are all made in this style. And that means that the entire set has a particular art style, and I think that's fine. I think it would be weird if Wizards of the Coast all of a sudden came out with a set that had all anime art, but I mean I wouldn't put it past them, I guess. Um, so anyway, that being said, end rant, and let's go ahead and talk about Miku Warsinger. So Miku Warsinger is a 6-mana 0/5 colorless. Okay, legendary creature, human illusion. Okay, she doesn't quite look like an illusion from this picture, but I'll believe you. She's indestructible. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, create an XX colorless illusion creature token with X is equal to the creature's converted mana cost. Okay, create an X is color. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm drinking Perrier, and Perrier always makes me burp. I apologize. I'm trying to make it as quiet as possible to not gross people out. Okay, we have white tap, exile Miku, then return her to the battlefield tapped. Activate only once per turn. Okay, then we have tap, a blue tap, scry X, where X is the number of non-legendary illusions you control. Okay, there's a lot going on in this card. So much so that I will pretty much say that this card should probably be mythic. There's a lot of complexity on this card, more so than I believe a rare should have. Um, I don't know why this card is colorless, to be quite frank. I mean, maybe the set, maybe the set has colorless as a theme or something. This is the first card I've seen in the set, so I don't really exactly know what the set's about, other than it's supposed to be Earth, right? Um, Now, I mean, you have a blue ability here and a white ability. Or, I did that backwards, but anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? There's a lot of illusion stuff going on. There's token creation. There's scrying. There's exiling. This could honestly be a straight up blue card, or even a blue white card. I guess blue white indestructible. You don't tend to see that in blue, really. Um, So I don't really know why this is colorless. And the thing about colorless is it makes a card that much better because it's easier to cast, right? So you can also just play this in any deck. Uh, this card's also indestructible. So okay, I'm gonna go on another like little small rant here for a second. I see a lot of legendary creatures designed that have very powerful defensive abilities like indestructible, like hexproof. Um, and this part, and a lot of them are like this one, where they have an extremely powerful ability. I mean, look at this. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an XX. Basically, every time you play a creature, you get 2 creatures, right? Um, which is very strong. I mean, uh, granted, this thing costs 6, so I mean that's worth considering. Like, you know, I mean, to me, this card looks a lot like a commander card. Um, and I mean, the fact that this costs 6, like, it's you know, it's that definitely helps, I guess, in the sense that like she has this powerful ability. But like making this card indestructible just makes it super obnoxious. Like, you know, especially because like the way to counter creating all these tokens is to Wrath, and this just protects her from Wrath. Uh, it, so it's like now I know there's ways you can still deal with this card. You can exile it, right? You can put it on top of their library. You counter it, you know, whatever. But cards that are this powerful and have and like are must deal with cards generally should not have strong defensive abilities like indestructible. Um, so okay, rant over. So I don't like that indestructible clause there. That being said, this is a powerful ability, which I would expect a powerful ability on a 6-drop. Oh yeah, that's right. On top of the indestructible, she can also protect herself from removal, right? So like if I decide I want to Swords to Plowshares this thing, she can just boop pay 1. I can't do that, right? Unless I guess I have 2 Swords to Plowshares. This card is like straight unkillable, and I really don't like when people do that. It makes cards. It's not even a personal preference thing. Like you won't see Wizards do this a lot, and that's because you have to consider the opponent. You have to consider your opponent when you're designing a Magic card, right? You want your opponent to have fun playing against you, otherwise they won't play with you, right? Um, and it's also good for Magic that both players have fun playing. Otherwise, there would be fewer Magic players, right? Which is part of the reason why there's so many more Magic players now than there were in the past, and why Magic's become more popular, because they've learned from their designs, and they don't do awful things anymore, like printing Moxes or mana drains that make it unfun to play against your opponent. So that's my rant over there. So I'm cool with powerful ability on a 6-drop, right? And the Scry X is even just like icing on the cake. I mean, she doesn't have any power or toughness, so like, okay, I mean, I could kind of live with that. You know, it's a little bit of like a this card actually feels a little bit like Scarab God in the sense where like you kind of get to make these tokens, you get to scry off them. I mean, granted, Scarab God has to pay for the tokens, and the tokens are copies, so it's not an exact, it's not an exact comparison, but Scarab God's also somewhat difficult to deal with in the sense that if you kill it, it comes back. Of course, that only works for destroy, for first destroy effects. So, yeah. So there's another issue with this card too, which is the formatting is off. Now, formatting is very important when it comes to creating a card because it makes a card readable, right? Now I'm guessing you didn't format this. I'm gonna assume you know how to format cards, so at least so far. We'll see what the other cards look like. and that you didn't format this one because there was so much text on it and it otherwise would not fit. Okay? Now, I would say if that's the case, that's a design red flag. That means your card is way too complex, right? And I do believe this card is too complex. So you use that formatting as a constraint for your designs, okay? And constraints often create the best designs. I mean, look at all the great cards that come out of the mystery box challenges, right? I mean, they have constraints, and you see a lot of creative cards come out of that. So that being said, this card basically does everything, and it's also impossible to deal with, and it's colorless. I have to say I just don't like this card. There's just too much about this card that is just not. It just has too many points against it. Let's put it that way. I think that if you made this card like blue, you kind of kept this creature into the battlefield, claws. Maybe you keep the scry, get rid of the indestructible, get rid of the protect yourself thing. Maybe give her some like useful stats other than 05. I mean, she's a Warsinger. Okay, I see. I kind of get it. Right, she's singing. Okay, it took me a second. I didn't actually see this microphone. I mean, if she's a war singer, then it might be cool to actually have this effect occur when a creature attacks, rather than when it enters the battlefield. I mean, that just kind of helps with the flavor a little bit. But yeah, I definitely think you should color this card. So yeah, that's my review of Miku Warsinger. I'm not trying to like rip anyone apart or bring anybody down when I make critiques like this. The purpose is to help you learn to be a better designer. And I hope that doesn't sound like I'm full of myself or anything like that. I mean, I make plenty of mistakes when I design cards too. I mean, you can look at my list of cards and there's plenty of stinkers in there, right? So, but designing cards is hard. So anyway, I'm gonna give this card a 2 out of 5, and I think this one could use some improvement. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.